Chapter 16. Yahusha departed from where he was and moved over to the water in Yehuda across the Yarden. And here 2 crowds gathered about him to hear his message. Many of the usual questions were asked and similar answers given. One man put this question to him, "Great teacher, is it lawful according to the great Torah for a man to put away his wife? For there are other laws concerning this." Yahusha said, "What did one of the great lawgivers, speaking with the authority of Elohim, say about this matter?" The man answered, "The Torah he gave permitted a severance deed to be made, and with this the wife is divorced." Yahusha said, "Such laws are needful while men are without wisdom. I assure you it will not be so when the rule of Elohim comes. They are made for those who cannot overcome differences by compassion and understanding. Where there is no feeling, there cannot be love. Divorce is decreed for the failures in love. Since the beginning, there have been male and female, each needing the other for fulfillment and spiritual flowering. For this reason, a man leaves his parents and unites with a woman so the 2 become one in flesh and ruach. The flesh is easily parted, but with the united ruach it is different. Therefore, when 2 are joined together in the union of love, let no act of man sever them from each other. Fornication occurs in marriage as well as outside it, for marriage is much more than the union of flesh. And whoever divorces his wife and marries another commits adultery in ruach against the one who is his true wife. Should a wife divorce her husband and marry another, she too commits spiritual adultery. Marriage has a much greater significance than this depraved generation realizes, for it enters into marriage thoughtlessly and irresponsibly, and then cries, "Loose us from our obligations, for we have failed and cannot stand the bonds of the covenant." After this, a disciple came to Yahusha and said, "Master, enlighten me. If there can be fornication in a marriage blessed by tradition and priest, do a man and woman commit greater fornication if unblessed?" Yahusha said, "Marriage is the blending of 2 ruach. Fornication is the joining of flesh. Nothing done or not done changes this. But if a man and woman be married in the sight of Yahweh and not before a priest, let this union not be lightly put apart. For I assure you that no future marriage blessed by priest or otherwise will be a marriage in ruach. It will be no more than fornication." The following morning, Yahusha and 5 disciples had not gone far along the road when a man came running after them, saying, "Master, what must I do to know the joys of immortality and glory? I know you teach goodness, but though I do my best, I find it difficult among so many pleasures." Yahusha said, "You have the commandments of Moshe. Keep these faithfully as interpreted by the fullness of the Torah. But to these, 2 more are now added which shall be just as faithfully obeyed. Act towards others as you would have them act towards you, and love your neighbor as yourself." The man said, "If only I could be as good as you." Yahusha answered, "Do not call me good, for no man made in the mold of man is wholly good. If I were not made in the same mold as man, I would not be subjected to his tests and trials and, without overcoming these, could not be wholly good either." When the man had gone, one of the disciples who came from beyond the western sea said, "I have heard that 3 things only make men wholly good. But you have many holy books which I cannot read. Tell me of the things which are in them." Yahusha said, "Store these things in your heart. They are sufficient for the day. Never utter curses against Yahweh or the powers about him, nor speak immodestly to exalt yourself. Do not act fraudulently, and never exaggerate. Always maintain an even temper, and do not act hastily. Never use violence unnecessarily, nor do anything causing unnecessary sorrow. Avoid anything to do with lewdness and obscenity. Commit no slander and speak no gossip. Never make mischief so strife is brought into the lives of others. Tell no lies. Be humble without being servile, and be clean in all ways. Whatever you do to earn your bread, do to the best of your ability. Fulfill all your daily obligations. And in the time left to you, serve a cause which is good. Add these to the teachings you have heard. and you will live a good life." Another disciple said, "A good man soon loses his friends." Yahusha replied, "No, goodness, like adversity, winnows them." One of the other disciples said, "It is very difficult to live a life which is wholly good." Yahusha answered, "It is even more difficult to enter into the greater life of the Ruach." The words surprised those hearing them, but Yahusha assured the disciples about him that it was true, adding, "Nothing worthwhile is ever easily gained." Yahusha continued, "Let all who can do so empty themselves of evil. The deeds are outside, but the thoughts are within. By striving hard and chastening the flesh, not yielding to the call of its lusts, the soul is strengthened by an inflow of spiritual food." Then Yahusha asked the disciples with him if all understood that unless they could pass the tests of the flesh, they could not know heaven. All replied that they understood. A disciple asked, "How long must men be subject to death?" Yahusha replied, "So long as women bear children." Another asked, "What is the food of the Ruach?" Yahusha said, "The truly hungry man eats bitter things and enjoys them. Even so does the hungry Ruach thrive on the bitterness of the world. The body is not nourished by bitterness and therefore enjoys food supplied by every healthful plant. If the Ruach is to be made healthy, the body must be subdued, for either the body is master or the Ruach is." One of the women, Salome, who had accompanied the disciples, asked Yahusha, "Is it within the Torah for a man to marry and yet not lie with his wife?" Yahusha answered, "It is never right to live falsely or to dishonor a pledge. Always let whatever be done accord with the intention declared." Salome said, "Master, when will the rule of Elohim come?" Yahusha replied, "When women place greater value on the treasures they hold, for men will strive harder for gold than for brass. When man and woman cease to pander to the flesh and become truly one in Ruach. For of this I assure you, unless man and woman exalt the Ruach above the flesh, they will not know life and glory." Another woman asked, "Who then shall know eternal life?" Yahusha said, "All will have eternal life, but not all will know it, while many will be found in a place of sorrow." She said, "No woman can make a man good." And Yahusha replied, "Any woman can make a man better." When they came to a place of rest, Philip said, "Master, teach us to understand our Father in heaven. And if we know his nature, it will suffice." Yahusha answered, "I have been with you some time, but still, many of you do not understand. I do not speak of myself, but as the mouthpiece of the Father. Can the nature of a father be much different from that of his sons? I teach you about Yahweh the Father, for you have to carry my words to others, and, spoken thus, they will understand. But he is not quite like earthly fathers, for his wisdom is infinitely greater. Think of an earthly father and magnify his greatness and goodness, his wisdom and justice, his sense of discipline and compassion 1,000 times, and you glimpse Yahweh the Father hazily." One of the women, not yet a disciple, approached the place where Yahusha sat, and said, "I have been harshly treated by the Torah concerning a daughter's inheritance. How do you interpret it?" Yahusha said, "I interpret all laws with mercy and compassion, but justice must not be put aside in their favor. It is written that if a man dies without fathering a son, his inheritance shall become the daughter's, but his wife shall not be deprived of her portion. Yet when there are sons, a daughter is not deprived of her portion. Therefore, the inheritance should be divided equally among sons and daughters. All women should have a rightful portion at marriage, but it would be unseemly for any woman to contend with her kinsman for it. No woman should ever seek a husband because of what she may gain from such marriage, for this makes her a deceiver, denying him the joy of love. No woman should ever snare a man into lust or seek a husband so she can leave her father's house, for this is a wrong against the husband. No woman having committed fornication should ever go to a man as wife, for in giving herself cheaply to one and dearly to another, she shames and insults her husband. If she loved him, how could she say, 'Give much for that which I freely bestowed on another'? better for her to say, "As with him, so with you." A man built a house, taking care with the decorating and its furnishings. Then, going to a friend, he said, "Because of my affection for you, I will give this house to you as a gift. I know this is not usual, but I have so much affection for you that I willingly disregard the common custom of men." Later, he built another house and, taking the furnishings which were no longer new from the first house, put them into the second. Going to another friend, he said, "I have a house which, because of my affection for you, I will sell at the usual price with a yearly rental for the furnishings." Now, for which of these friends did he have the greatest affection? Would not the second man justly feel he had been treated badly in relation to the first? Would it not be fairer to have treated both alike? The Torah is to wear the clothes of purity, and to absorb the words of the holy books is to be anointed with wisdom. For the holy books of wisdom are weavers preparing the garments of eternal life and glory. They are available to all and may be either accepted or ignored. The kingdom of heaven is like a king giving a wedding feast, who, moving about among his guests, notices a man without a wedding garment. The king says to him, "My friend, why did you come here attired like this, when it makes you completely out of place?" The man can make no answer, so the king calls his servants and says, "Turn him out, for he does not fit in here." Let all men be just and merciful towards one another, for all who are will not be overlooked in the life to come. But those who act otherwise shall surely suffer. Those who pander to people in high places, or who distort the Torah of Yahweh to suit their own ends or twist them to serve unintended purposes, shall not be overlooked at the accounting. There are those who interpret the Torah narrowly, so that, while not taking the clothes from the widow's back, they will take her house and milk cow and drive the fatherless children from their home. They justify themselves by saying, "This is the Torah, and was not her husband a debtor?" Many are the devious roads followed by the hypocrites, for this is a wrongful interpretation of the Torah. The holy books of the Yahudim say that an eye shall be taken for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, but the words of the Torah must be interpreted with justice. For if an eye be taken from he who put out another's, or a tooth from someone who has knocked out the tooth of another, is the loss made good in this manner? Or if a one-eyed man causes him with 2 eyes to lose one, shall he be made blind and so suffer a greater loss? Or if a man with 2 eyes causes a man with 1 eye to be made blind, shall he lose both? Henceforth, let the loss be made good in silver or through labor, for now the law of revenge shall be overruled by the law of retribution. All laws shall now be administered under the rule of recompense. All these things I give you that they may be established and added to the Torah, so that henceforth they be used in judgments among the just. I come to open the blind eyes of ignorance, to rescue the captives confined in dungeons of delusion, and to free men from the shackles of the flesh. I come to quicken the dead in Ruach, to heal the wounds of worldly woes, and to comfort the despairing. About this time, some of the Parashim who inclined towards Yahusha came to warn him that certain men of Herod sought to do him harm, advising him to leave. Yahusha said, "If anyone intends to report my whereabouts to Herod, let him do so. But I will not leave until the 3rd day, when my work here will be complete." He then went with his disciples to Alon, where he rested among the trees for 7 days, teaching them the secrets of hidden things. On the 7th day, men of Kodesh came out of Yehuda, and Yahusha said, "Beware of these, for they betrayed their own fathers and pollute whatever is clean." Then Yahusha and those with him departed.